Okay. And today, the franchise. It's called franchise. Which I have never seen, but you are experts at.
You said that you've never seen any of the Saw films?
Nope.
All right, well, I am guessing that you don't care that we talk about spoilers then.
Nope.
Okay, cool. So I guess before we get into all that, I was wanting to share this. Back in September or so of last year, I actually got to meet Tobin Bell like
Awesome.
crazy. But yeah, I got to. But yeah, Tobin Bell is best known for playing Jigsaw. But yeah, I met him and he signed the Saw blade. So
You're gonna ask once you get licensed, you're gonna ask to be in your fourth movie.
that would be amazing if I actually could work with Tobin Bell. And yeah, I will never forget when I posted this autograph on my Facebook exploded. I mean,
You're gonna talk about it more when you get the Spiral, but Tobin Bell is what makes Saw.
oh, definitely, yeah. And I think Tobin Bell is a really good example of that if you feel like you're falling behind in your life, if you feel like that it's too late due to your age to find success in life, Tobin Bell proves that it's not too late because Tobin Bell, from what I can tell, started acting when he was in his 40s. And then Tobin Bell had very tiny roles. And then it wasn't until Saw came along when he was in his 60s. He was in his 60s when he did Saw. And then it wasn't until then, like when he finally got his big break. So age is not an excuse.
Well, he's not the only one, too. I believe Alan Rickman, who's best known for Hans Gruber in Die Hard and Snape in the Harry Potter movies, like, I don't think he was acting until he was a bit older.
Yep, and yep,
So,
and even Samuel L. Jackson's a really good example. Morgan Freeman didn't get his big break till he was in his 50s. But
yeah.
anyways,
So what was the movie like and Saw came out?
so yeah, this year marks the 20th anniversary of when Saw came out, and that's crazy. That makes me feel old. According to my research, it was originally was a short film. Lee Wanell and James Wan like were trying to get funding for it when they originally were in Australia, but they couldn't get funding for it. And then I believe their manager or somebody said you should move to Los Angeles so that way it has a higher chance of getting made. And so they made a short film, and the short film caught the attention of a lot of investors, and the rest is history.
So so what is the plot behind these movies? At least the first. I think are they all the same, or is each one different?
I feel like I've done enough talking. So how about you take it away, Schnick?
Well, so basically the thing with the Saw, so the first movie opens up with two guys chained to they're chained to pipes inside this room, and essentially they're given a test. The test is they can leave, but they have to chop off their own limb to escape the chain. And they find that this is yet another string of victims taken captive by the so-called Jigsaw Killer. Essentially, the Jigsaw Killer puts people through tests that usually involve mutilating their bodies in some fashion, or otherwise going through some kind of psychological trauma. And if they if they fail, which is not completing the test in time, well, they die. But if they succeed, they usually get to live, albeit with the scars from the test. And like as the series goes on, basically Jigsaw's modus operandi is that he takes people that are down on their luck, they're like stuck in like a drug addiction, or if like they're not appreciating their life, or if they're like criminals or something like that. Basically, the idea behind the test is that Jigsaw wants to rehabilitate these people to appreciate their lives more.
Yeah, which I think that right there like was an excellent way like to sell the Saw series, because we have to remember that at one point Saw like was not as big of a name as it is now. And when I took film history back in the fall of last year, um, what the film professor was saying is that if you don't have a big name attached to your movie, like Morgan Freeman or whichever, um, and if your movie is not a, if your IP does not have that, if your movie doesn't have that IP value, you really got to sell the idea. And I think that Saw is a really good example of that, because I think it makes it more interesting knowing that Jigsaw doesn't just kidnap random people and innocent people just for the sake of being evil, but more so that he's trying to make people value
Yeah.
their own life.
And he doesn't kill any. I don't think he technically kills anyone. He has other people. They kill themselves, or other people kill him.
Yeah, although that some people would contest to that, but I will let the viewers judge that. But yeah, from my research, Lee Wanell and James Wan basically they were wanting to do a movie as cheaply as they possibly could. So and then they thought, hey, why don't we set the whole movie in film the whole movie like in one building. I mean, yeah, a few pickup shots outside, but mostly it was all inside. And yeah, and then that's when they came up with the idea. How about that these two guys wake up tied up, and basically they're trying to figure out how to survive. Excuse me. And yeah, and hard to believe that the original Saw came out almost 20 years ago now. That makes me feel old.
This year is the movie's 20th anniversary.
Yep. Holy crap, I feel old. But yeah, I was not allowed to watch Saw when it first came out. I didn't finally see it until 2008 around Halloween time. Uh, I first saw it when I purchased it at a pawn shop, because me and a bunch of my friends at that time, we were wanting to have like a horror movie marathon like on Halloween night. And it was then when my parents finally allowed me to watch the Saw movies, even though they didn't approve of it. But I was finally of the age like where they couldn't really do anything about it anymore, and so yeah, me and my friends watched the original Saw. What makes me feel old is that back then at the pawn shop, buying a DVD would cost me $5 when I was a freshman in high school. Nowadays, buying a DVD at a pawn shop costs you like 50 or so cents. So that shows how much times have changed.
Yeah, for that little throwback, go watch our physical media podcast from a few weeks ago.
Yep, exactly. And but yeah, even though I did not see the original Saw in theaters when it first came out, I did have my second chance in 2014, because in 2014 they actually did re-release Saw for the 10-year anniversary. So yeah, so it was on Halloween in 2014 when I got to have my second chance. So yeah.
So what else makes it different from other horror movies?
So a lot of horror movies try to have like a twist. This is what the Saw series really is known for.
They're big twists. Yeah.
Yeah, like the twist in the original Saw, it's one of the best twists I've ever seen. And I think that that's one of the reasons why that it made Saw such a popular movie. I think one of the reasons definitely could be its twist. I mean, you don't see it coming. I mean, I guess we could spoil it for you, Vandalia. I guess depends on if you care.
I
I'm not
mean,
gonna.
the twin.
I'm not
If
planning on
I'm
watching
being
them anytime soon.
frank,
So yeah, I don't care.
if I'm being, yeah, you can say it first, but I'll talk after.
Okay, so there is a dead body lying in front of the two main characters, and they think that Jigsaw is someone else. But it actually turns out that Jigsaw actually is the body lying in front of them the entire time, but just Jigsaw like took like some shots like to keep him alive while making it look like he was dead the entire time. And yeah, and then like that moment, like when Jigsaw gets up from the ground, you go, "Oh my god, that person was alive the entire time. That was Jigsaw the entire time." Hey, Land Before Time, Eddie and Regio. I probably mispronounced your name, but hey, I tried. But yeah, that was an amazing twist.
Well, for me, because of how ingrained Tobin Bell has become with the franchise, like even before when I watched the first movie for the first time, I just kind of saw it coming.
So did
Yeah.
any other actors
But
get to play?
like, I can imagine, like back in 2004, like it would have been extremely effective.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did any other actors get like they're starting the Saw franchise besides Jigsaw himself?
Yeah.
Well, Leigh Whannell himself, who was one of the who I think was the writer of the movie, and he also starred as like one of the main actors. He got a big break in Hollywood afterward. Like most recently, he's well known for directing the 2020 version of The Invisible Man.
Yep.
So, and James Wan, who was the director of the first one, also went on to do a lot of directing of big budget projects.
Yeah. Like James Wan went on to direct Fury 7, Aquaman 1 and 2. He went on to direct The Conjuring, Insidious. So yeah, so Saw really definitely was their big break movie, and Shawnee Smith also was in the movie. Yeah, Shawnee Smith did do some things before Saw.
Is he frozen?
He might be.
Yeah, I think he's frozen.
Mm.
Uh, so, uh, so what was your favorite? Did you have a favorite? Uh, we'll say event or mutilation or murder in the first movie.
Well, the first movie's really simple. Like it's mainly about like the suspense of what's going on because you're just first introduced to it.
Yep, he crashed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the first movie's not my personal favorite of the series, but like it had a great foundation.
so, so what were some of the things they had you do besides the cutting off the limbs in that one first one?
It's basically a wide variety of traps. Like it's best to go by like in the individual movies because probably one of the more recurring traps that's in the first movie is called the reverse bear trap. Like basically it's like a bear trap is put on a person's head and essentially I forget exactly how you beat it. Like I think it's something about like having to find the key like I think I completely forget what it is that Shawnee Smith has to do in the first movie to get the reverse bear trap off. Because basically, what a lot of the traps boil down to is that they're strapped to a device that's going to mutilate them to death, and what they have to do to get the usually what they have to do is to get the key that unlocks them from the device, but the usually getting the key involves mutilating themselves in some way. Like I know in one movie they put the key inside a bottle of acid, which also puts like a time limit because eventually the key is going to fully dissolve in the acid and be useless. Then in the most recent movie, Saw 10, there's like a trap involving somebody's eyeballs getting sucked out. And in order to get the key to unlock himself from that, or like to stop the device, he has to he has to press some switches to break all his fingers on one hand. So, yeah.
I know this is the first movie, but I heard one of the. I might be wrong, but in one of the movies, they had to.
Hey, sorry. I'm so sorry about that. My computer crashed on me. But anyways, as I was saying, Shawnee Smith at that time, yeah, she did do a few movies. Like she did the remake of The Blob, but that bombed at the box office, and
Remake of the Blob, which one?
the one from the 1980s.
Oh, the '88 one was said to be good. Like, and
Yes.
I actually got that on digital recently. I was curious to watch it at some point. I didn't know she was in that.
Yep, she was, and
She must have been really young back then.
she was. She was
Yeah.
very, very young. And so Shawnee Smith actually almost didn't do the original Saw because Shawnee Smith said that she does not like horror movies. But then ultimately she
That's
changed her mind.
ironic considering the character she plays.
Yep. And I mean, obviously she changed her mind to think that if she would have went through like with not doing the original Saw, she would have really, really missed out.
So I asked Nick when you were gone, what was your favorite mutilation in the first movie?
Huh. I think I would probably have to say at the very end, well, like when Carrie Elways, like his character, Dr. Gordon, like he went that absolutely nuts, wanting to go save his family, and then he starts to cut his foot off. And yeah, and I liked how earlier in the movie where that was foreshadowed when like when Carrie Elways figured out he doesn't want us to cut through our chains. He wants us to cut through our feet. And it's interesting with the Carrie Elways connection, since that in the movie Yes Man, Jim Carrey is seen like to watch like that moment like in Saw with Carrie Elways. It's an interesting connection because Carrie Elways actually did work with Jim Carrey like in Liar Liar, so that's just an interesting connection. And so yeah,
So,
I would say that that was my favorite violent moment.
uh, so how did what was the setup for the second movie? How did he return?
You mean the Jigsaw? He got away with it in the
Uh,
first one.
But yeah, Dr. Gordon though, played by Carrie Elways, I will never forget on all the Saw forums and IMDb message boards. It was back when IMDb had those message boards, and then they eventually got rid of them. As much as that sucks,
Yeah, they got
every
rid of them because they basically because they were tired because select people were like crying out they were mean. So
that
because IMDb punished the forum users by saying now nobody gets forums because everybody has to be a meanie poop head.
well, that's a shame because I will never forget when I was younger. I absolutely, absolutely loved those IMDb forums. I mean, I would use those all the time back when I was younger, and then they got rid of them. But nowadays, I just use like Facebook groups now, and but yeah, in all those forums and on House of Jigsaw, back when that was a thing on those forums, people always would be talking about when are they going to bring back Dr. Gordon. And people would say that for the Saw 2 forums, Saw 3, and so forth. And there were fans saying, let it go. Dr. Gordon is never coming back. Then fast forward to 2010. I know we're jumping a little bit ahead here, but yeah, he eventually did reprise his role. From what I was told, Carrie Elways didn't reprise his role sooner because he had like a pay dispute with the filmmakers. So yeah.
Now,
Well, I talk about it more when you get to Saw 7, but like he's barely used in the seventh one. But yeah, go on.
so
Yeah.
I heard, maybe it was a parody or something, but did they just mutilate themselves, or that that they mutilate other people to get out of the traps? Hello.
But yeah,
So did you hear what I said?
yes, I did, but I don't want to be doing all the talking, so
Okay.
I kind of thought that.
Uh,
So I kind of thought that our guest here, like,
Well, I kind of while you were gone, I did kind of go over it. Like it
okay,
really depends. It really depends on the traps.
yeah, definitely.
yeah,
But
'cause I don't
yeah,
know if that was a parody or that actually happened in the movie. That he did to kill other people to get out, or hurt other people, not just themselves.
like I said, there are some people who will dispute that because there's this part in the first movie where Jigsaw sets up this like these shotguns up in the ceiling, and then like one of the detectives triggers it, and then it blows his head off. So yeah, so some people have used that as an argument to say, okay, is he is he really allowing them to kill themselves?
I don't know.
Um,
But yeah, and from what I heard, the original Saw, it was supposed to be released straight to DVD, but it wasn't until when it got really positive reception at like film festivals. It was then when they decided that it's going to get a theatrical release instead, and it got that theatrical release, and it had a budget of only $1 million, which for a lot of Hollywood movies, for Hollywood standards, that's extremely low.
Well, it's not the lowest budget that a movie has had.
No, it's not.
Like the original Mad Max was made on a very shoestring budget, but that wasn't widely released in the United States, from what I heard. But then the George Romero's like Living Dead movies were made with like practically no money.
Yep, and the original Blair Witch Project that was made for like what, $15 million, and the original Winnie the Pooh horror movie, that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, that was made for only 50 for like $50,000. Yeah, and that's pretty much nothing with that. So yeah, so
how much was your budget for your movies?
my first movie was only $40. My second movie was $300. Now my current one is 3,000. And yeah, and for the fourth movie, I am looking at getting investors because I did find a website like where you can get investors. So
You're finally gonna have producer credits for your movie.
yeah, but yeah, if anybody watching is an investor for movies, I would really appreciate that because I had to give up putting money into my savings account just to get my current movie made.
Mm.
So yeah, so Any last words about the original Saw before we go on to the rest? Because we've been talking about the original for quite a while now.
I don't have much else to say about the first one.
But yeah, the original is a masterpiece. I mean, it has a few flaws here and there. Some of the acting from Lee Wanell may not be the best, but I get it. They had a very limited schedule. But anyways, let's move on to Saw 2, which a lot of people say is the best out of all the Saw
For
sequels.
me, it's one of the top entries in the series. Yep.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, like I remember when Saw 2 came out, everybody at school was talking about it. My older brother was talking about it. And keep in mind that my older brother isn't really a fan of horror movies. And but yet when Saw 1 through 5 came out, my older brother was really really into those movies. And from what I heard, Darren Lynn Bousman, the guy who directed Saw 2, he originally had a script called The Desperate. He was trying to get it made, but he was being rejected because people were saying, "Oh, this is too much like Saw." And then eventually he figured, "Hey, might as well just make it into a Saw movie then."
So this is one of the few times that the sequel was better than the original.
uh I guess it depends on who you ask. I mean, Saw 2 definitely had a bigger budget, which makes sense since that the original Saw was such a big hit. But yeah, and so all right, to people in the chat and even Schnick, what do you all think? Do you think Saw 2 is better than the original, or do you think the original is better?
I actually think the second one's better because I like how there's a larger cast of jigsaw victims. There's a much wider variety of traps, which makes for like more of an engaging horror experience. And I think one of my problems with the first movie is that the two big because so the big so the formula with a lot of the Saw movies, not all of them, but like a good chunk of them, is that you have one story of like the jigsaw victims, like trying to figure out a way out of their predicament, and then you have a story of the police officers like trying to track them down. In the first movie, I just felt like the police officer and victim stories were a bit too disconnected. So like and I think there were like extended sequences where like you'd be with the police officers, like even like flashbacks and everything. It's like it sort of gets to a point where you want to go back to Carrie Elways and Leigh Whannell and like see how they're doing.
Yeah.
Whereas in the second movie, they do a much better job like pacing both the stories that they intersect a lot better.
Yeah.
So, and then also because now you know that Tobin Bell is Jigsaw, like, so in the second movie, they catch him pretty early on, and, like, he sort of, like, taunts them while he's, like, in interrogation, and, like, it delves into his character quite a bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, and the original Saw, Tobin Bell wasn't really in the movie a whole lot, which makes sense given what we talked about prior. But yeah, in this movie, he gets way more screen time, and so yeah, I could definitely see why people definitely would like Saw 2 because of that. And when I was a teenager, out of all the Saw movies that were released at that time, it was Saw 2, which was the one that I rewatched the most because I thought it had an excellent runtime. It wasn't too long, wasn't too short. It went at a great pace. The traps were great. And yeah, and it's the Saw movie I have watched the absolute most.
So in this movie, there's more than one shooting location. Then
Yeah, probably since that they had more of a budget to do so.
all right. Well,
But
did you guys have a favorite event in this movie?
oh man, I think I would say out of all the traps, probably the needle one is the one that gets to me the most because
Yeah.
I think that that's the one that gets to most people. But the one where the victim was a complete idiot, it's like where like she gets like her hands stuck in those things, and like she was so so after she got one of her hands caught, she was then dumb enough to put her other hand in the other one, getting both of her hands stuck. It's like you should have observed the trap first. You should have grabbed like a rock or something like to break the glass and then get the key. So that's a flaw with Saw 2. Even though that I love Saw 2, but at that I'm like, you were such an idiot.
What about you, Nick? How was your anything stand out? Any of the?
Well, it's about what Eric said.
Uh,
To me, like it was the needle. Like that was like an idiot moment right there. Then the needle trap is the one that stuck with me because it's like obviously you don't know where those needles have been. I mean, in school they educate you about how used needles often carry STDs and everything. So like that's not even just the fact of they're poking you.
Yep, it's that you don't know where in the world they've been. And I will never forget watching the DVD behind the scenes. They were saying, for safety measures, how they had to go through every needle just to make sure that it was safe. Could you imagine just how tedious that was?
Yeah. But they had no choice because they don't want to accidentally give Shawnee Smith an STD.
Yep, exactly. And then that would backfire
Yeah.
on them. So, yeah.
so what was the twist of this movie? So there even had a twist.
All right, so I revealed the twist of the first movie. So, how about you give it away?
The twist of the second one is that Shawnee Smith, who returns in the first one, she's one of the victims in like the house, and like another one of the victims is the son of like the main detective character in the movie, who is played by Donnie Wahlberg, who's best known for Blue Bloods nowadays. So Donnie Wahlberg, of course, is really pissed with Jigsaw in captivity because like his son's in his traps right now. But it turns out the whole time Shawnee Smith was working for Jigsaw because she she survived Jigsaw's trap in the first movie. She was rehabilitated so much to Jigsaw's liking that she actually now believes in his rehabilitation efforts. So she became his apprentice. And she was in the house the whole time, sort of supervising the traps.
Mm.
And then later in the movie, like when Donnie Wahlberg finds the house, he gets trapped in there. Like Shawnee Smith, I believe Shawnee Smith traps him in there. And then she breaks Jigsaw out of prison and, well, out of the, not prison, out of the police station. And they're at large at the end of the movie. So,
yeah.
So wow. So we got got a partner in crime with the second movie.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, yeah. So,
Go to the third one then.
I will say this before we move on to Saw 3. The end credit song I like better in Saw 2 than I did with Saw 1. Like, it actually.
2 and 3 had awesome end credit songs.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it was because of Saw 2 is why that I discovered Mudvayne. And then afterwards, I then became a huge Mudvayne fan.
So all right, real quick for us, maybe skipping the thing. We can go back to 30 second. So is there a point in the franchise that that the movies did what people call jump the shark.
Yeah, in Saw 3D, I would say, let's focus on Saw 3.
So,
So Saw 3 I thought was like a step down. Like, it's a movie I'm pretty divided on. Like, on one hand, Saw 3 at the time was meant to be the end of the series,
Yes, it was.
and in a sense, it does have that grand finale feeling to it. And the overall big theme of Saw 3 is that it's all about forgiveness and how vengeance isn't the answer. So, like, the plot of it is that the main Jigsaw victim this time is a guy called Jeff. So, Jeff's son was accidentally killed by a drunk driver the year before, and the drunk driver was acquitted. So, so Jeff has a lot of rage towards the driver as well as the people who let him go free. So Jigsaw traps him in his game. For the record, that's Jigsaw's big recurring quote, "I want to play a game." And what Jigsaw does this time is he has Jeff free to roam around the facility this time. He comes across each of the people who were involved with his son's death not getting justice. So they get an eyewitness that decided not to speak about the crime, the judge who acquitted the drunk driver, and then finally the drunk driver himself. And essentially they're all hooked up to a trap, and essentially Jeff is given the option to free them, at the cost of mutilating himself. Like, for the eyewitness, he has to get the key to free her out of like this freezer that he gets his face stuck in or something. Then the judge is drowning in pig guts, and the only way
that
to
was
get
brutal.
yeah. And the only way to get the key to free the judge is that he has to burn all his son's old toys. They're like the only things he has left of him. And then for the drunk driver, he has to the key is attached to the trigger of a shotgun. And if he pulls the key off, the shotgun's going to go off and possibly blast him in the face. So basically, so that's what the movie is. And meanwhile, off to the side, so we forgot to mention this the last time. The whole reason why Jigsaw started his whole thing is because he was dying of cancer. And he made an attempt on his life that failed. And that was that attempt on his life that made him appreciate his life more. And that's why he started doing Jigsaw stuff. Well, the cancer by Saw 3 is starting to take its toll, and he is basically dying. Like, he is about to go. And Jeff's wife was captured because she's like a doctor, or like a nurse, I think a doctor. And essentially, Shawnee Smith is forcing her to keep him alive. Like, there's a pretty disgusting brain surgery scene because she has to keep his skull open to let his brain breathe a little bit because it's like swollen. And essentially, if Jigsaw stops breathing and he dies, a shotgun collar on the wife's neck is going to kill her. So that's why she has to keep him alive.
Yeah, with that brain surgery scene, when I first saw Saw 3 when I was a freshman in high school, I'll never forget. So I rented Saw 3 on like the Xbox, like the Xbox store or whatever it was at that time. When it got to that scene, I'll never forget how much I was cringing. Like, oh god!
Like, Saw 3 has some of the most disgusting imagery in the series.
Yeah, that and like that scene where like all that pig guts is like piling up on that guy. Oh my gosh. And
Then don't forget what Jigsaw calls his personal favorite. There's what the drunk driver is hooked up to, a device called the rack.
oh
And
yeah,
the
that
and
one.
the rack, what the rack is, so he's like strung up like this. The
Oh,
rack slowly twists each of his limbs until like the bones break and everything until it finally
oh.
hits his head.
Yeah, Saw 3 is one of the most gory Saw movies. Oh my gosh, that scene was brutal. And also what was brutal in Saw 3, that moment where like that naked woman is being sprayed with all that really cold water and she's in that freezing cold room.
Yeah. Funny thing is, I was reading like in the production notes that they were originally gonna have her clothed like in a t-shirt and everything, but then they figured spraying her with water in a t-shirt, nah, that wouldn't give off the disturbing vibe. I mean, wet t-shirt, woman wearing see-through, whatever, yeah. So they needed to make it disturbing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so despite like the thing with Saw 3 that makes it divisive for me is that its execution is kind of sloppy. Like for one thing, Jeff is a pretty unlikable character. Like there's this YouTube channel called Kill Count that's like that like goes over death scenes like in movies, like particularly horror stuff. He gave Jeff the nickname Slow Ass Motherfucking Jeff. Because the problem with Jeff is that he takes forever to make decisions. Like he doesn't, it's not like he even talks to the victims or like debates among himself whether he wants them to forgive them for like what their role in his son's death, not having justice served. Like he just kind of stands there like blank faced. And yeah, like also he has a very idiotic moment at the end of the movie. His final test is he gets to Jigsaw himself, who's laying there dying from his cancer. His last test is to forgive Jigsaw for putting him through all the tests. And it's been spelled out pretty clear for him that if Jigsaw dies, his wife dies. So Jeff decides, oh, I forgive you. Takes a chainsaw and slices his neck. So obviously his wife dies.
Yeah, and a lot of people have said that the big mistake they made in Saw 3 is that they killed off Jigsaw at the very end. But I mean, this was intended to be the final Saw movie, and originally Lee Wanell and James Wan and all the other people involved with Saw 1 and 2, they didn't want to come back for a Saw 3. But from my understanding, the only reason why that they did it was because of one of the producers, Greg Hoffman, passed away while making Saw 2, and then they figured, hey, let's make one more Saw movie, not for us, but for him. And so,
So do you agree? Do you agree with Nick that the third movie went down in quality?
I mean, I definitely do like Saw 3, but to be honest, I did watch Saw 2 more. So it went down in quality just a little bit, but I definitely do like a lot of its themes. I like its theme about how revenge is not the answer. And yeah, I liked a lot of the things in Saw 3. But yeah, but yeah, I do agree that Saw 3 kind of has a pacing issue. But other than that, I really do enjoy Saw 3, and host in the live chat acts what's all my opinions on the first three. I like the first three Saw movies.
That would be me. I'm the host.
Oh,
I was
oh,
asking the chat.
oh.
Well,
Okay. But yeah, I just wasn't sure like if like their username like was host or what. But Now I know. So yeah,
So, all right. So, I guess the question is, if Jigsaw died in the third movie, who's the fourth movie guy?
Well, the thing with Saw 4 onwards is that, yeah, they do take place after Saw 3, but they make heavy usage of flashbacks so that they could keep using Tobin Bell. And basically, so in Saw 3, Shawnee Smith ends up dying too because she was very unhinged as an apprentice. And, like, the thing with Jigsaw is that he always wanted to rig his traps as being so that the victims could survive it. Shawnee Smith rigged them on purpose to where they would die no matter what.
yeah. And people even said that a lot, like about Hoffman's traps. Like Hoffman actually was first introduced like in the third Saw movie, and then afterwards he and then became a very prominent character throughout Saws 4 through 7.
Yeah, so basically what happened is starting from Saw 4 onwards, the new Jigsaw traps are done by another guy called Hoffman, who is another apprentice of Jigsaw's.
Have we never met before, or we met?
And then another main character who joins the series at this point is a woman called Jill, who is Jigsaw's wife. So yeah,
they continue on his work.
Yep.
Hoffman continues his work. Jill was not really involved in the work. So let's see. With Saw 4, I did like it a bit more than 3 because the characters were a bit more engaging. And another thing with Saw 3 that I didn't really like that much is I know that that's par for the course of the series, but 3 was a bit too depressing for me. And 4 didn't carry as big of a depressing tone to it. But the big problem with Saw 4 is that its plot is an absolute mess.
Yeah, I do agree. I Saw 4, I felt like that I got overly complicated by Saw 4.
Yeah.
And like knowing that, so Jigsaw, before he died, knew all of this stuff like was gonna happen with all these victims seemed a little bit much to me. So yeah, that's why I like Saws 1 through 3 better than Saws 4 through. I mean, Saw 6 was pretty decent, but I like Saw 1 through 3 better than Saw 4, 5, and Saw 7.
Yeah, that's about right.
But yeah, by Saw 4, it got way overly complicated, and even Darren Lynn Bousman didn't even want to come back for Saw 4, but but his schedule was a little bit open, and he figured, hey, why not? And then it would be the last Saw movie that he would direct until he came back for Spiral.
We'll get to Spiral later. So the thing with Saw 4 is that it was cool to see like get an in-depth look in Jigsaw's backstory. Like it was one of the first ones we got. But they had so many storylines going on. And the movie jumps between them like at a rapid fire pace that kind of makes it a bit disorienting. And also the traps were not all that creative here.
I mean, I thought that Saw 4 had some pretty cool traps. Like the one with the hair got me, and the one in the beginning where like the guy had his eyes sewn shut and then the other guy had his mouth sewn shut. That one did seem more like a trap that they could not win. But the one trap that really made me cringe, it was when that pedophile guy like got like those like knives like poked into his eyes. I'm like, okay, he can't wait, not kinda. He really deserved it.
Yeah.
So that was one of the times you were rooting for the victim to get hurt.
Yep, I mean,
Well, the next time you kind of root for the victims to get hurt is Saw 10, but that's a little way off.
yeah, definitely. So, anything else said to be said about Saw 4, or are we good to
Not really. So, Saw 5, I thought was a bit more of a step in the right direction for me. I liked how they brought back the multiple survivors angle that like Saw 2 when like basically like so multiple survivors wake up together and they kind of work through like all the jigsaw traps. And they also go into Hoffman's backstory because like Saw 4 is like what revealed Hoffman to be the next Jigsaw apprentice, so they go into like how he became acquainted with Jigsaw here. But again, they edit the stories together at a bit of a breakneck pace. And I don't know, the characters were also kind of forgettable.
Yeah, what I remember Saw 5 about is that it was the first Saw movie that I saw at the theater because I wasn't allowed to watch Saw 1 through 4 when they came out. But then Saw 5 finally was the one where I was finally allowed to watch them. So it was the first Saw movie that I saw at the theater.
So you were finally 17 to see R-rated movies.
Well, I was 16, but almost 17. So, and then my parents' justification for it, they were saying, yeah, you're now the same age, Kyle. My older brother's name is Kyle, and they were like, you know what? You're now the same age Kyle was when we first started to let him watch R-rated movies. So you can watch this. My parents were not thrilled about me watching Saw 5, but like they said with their justification for it. And
Did
yeah,
they come with you, or were you
no.
allowed?
So what happened was me and my best friend Greg at that time. My parents bought us the tickets, and my parents said yes, you two can go in. But the person taking the ticket wouldn't let us in, and I thought, shoot, we're not going to be able to get in. And then Greg was thinking on his feet. Greg and then asked some random stranger, "Hey, could you like pretend like to be our parental guardian?" And they said yeah. So that was how we got into Saw 5. And I will never forget. After the movie was done, my parents came and picked us up, and I was saying how I was in the mood for Taco Bell because I was hungry. And my dad said, "So you have an appetite after seeing all that gore?"
Oh, God.
Yeah, they were not thrilled at all about me watching Saw 5. And it's ironic now considering that, the Friday the 13th franchise definitely helped me out like with getting my name out there like with movies, but
Hmm.
I think because of that, I think my parents are having a change of heart, even though that they still don't like the genre. But yeah, uh,
So did five go up or down from four in your opinion?
depends on who you ask.
I'm asking you.
Yeah. So Darren Lynn Bousman did not come back to direct it. Instead, it was directed by David Hackle. David Hackle was going to direct Saw 4, but he had personal issues come up. Excuse me. So instead, he directed Saw 5, and I think it is best that they have someone else come in and direct the Saw movies because Darren Lynn Bousman, I could tell that he was getting burnt out like on Saw. So yeah, so I think in that regard, yeah, that it did help the franchise. But yeah, to
So
be
like,
honest,
kind of
I
like you're sorry, like you're getting burned out on your thing that pissed me off series movie.
yeah, so I know exactly how he feels with being burnt out on Saw because I'm feeling that way about things that piss me off. To be really honest,
You have a future director in mind for future projects?
for things that piss me off, well, I'm taking a break from the movie series after the fourth movie. But I have mentioned that I eventually there might be a fifth movie. But hey, whoever would be willing to take the shot at being the director.
Right. What about you, Nick? In your opinion, the fifth movie go up or down in quality compared to the fourth movie?
Well, I said it at the start that it went
Also,
up a little bit, but not
all
by
right.
much.
Yeah, still I think Saw 5 was a little bit complicated with the plot. And I feel like the filmmakers knew that killing off Jigsaw was a mistake at the end of Saw 3 because they had to do all these mental gymnastics trying to bring Tobin Bell back. And what's funny is that Tobin Bell often would get top billing when he's barely even in Saw 4, 5, 6, and 7, especially in Saw 7 where he's only in like one scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then it was around when Saw 5 came out is when the box office results were starting to go down, and yeah, and people weren't talking about Saw 5 as much as they were for the previous Saw movies. So yeah, so I guess enough with that. Let's move on to Saw 6.
Yeah, Saw 6 was like a big jump in quality. Like, 6 is hailed as like one of the best movies in the series. So, by now, they kind of cleaned up their act with the storylines. So, they fully settled on Hoffman and Jill, like, being at each other for, like, the police storyline. Like, and then for the trap storyline, they focus on a guy called William, who is I believe he's an health insurance agent. And the funny thing is, the whole health insurance thing comes back in Saw 10. Because so basically, Jigsaw meets with him to use his health insurance to get money for an experimental treatment that's supposed to be helping him get rid of his cancer, and that gets followed up on in Saw 10. And he denies him have the insurance cover the treatment because it's out of the country and it's not authorized. Like they And basically, what Saw 6 does is it gives massive social commentary about the American healthcare system,
Yep.
which is very relevant, and like it tells an interesting story with it. They've got some creative traps there. Now, 6 is the one where they have 5 people strapped to a merry-go-round, and like basically William has to choose which 2 of them are gonna live and the others are gonna get blasted by a shotgun.
Yeah, I definitely thought that was one of like the coolest traps in
Yeah.
in the Saw series. But yeah, what was a real shame is that by this point, uh, like that the audiences were getting burnt out on Saw, and around that same time, Paranormal Activity came out. Everybody was talking about Paranormal Activity. Well, I will never forget people at school. People at school were saying, "Oh, another Saw movie. Saw 6 looks so stupid." But
Were you burned out personally at this time, or are you still excited for the series?
I was excited, but I could see why people were getting burnt out on it because this was now Saw 6. And yeah, and so because of Paranormal Activity, Saw 6 underperformed at the box office.
So how fast were these movies coming out at this point? Were they coming out
They're
really
coming
fast?
out every year.
So yeah, that's not like a gap reading year. It was like one boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, like at that time there was no gap. There wasn't a gap until Saw 7 and Jigsaw. But yeah, like they're coming out every year, every Halloween. So I do get why audiences like were eventually getting burnt out on the Saw series. And yeah, and that was a very common thing that I heard at school. Like people were saying, "Oh, another Saw movie?" Like they were saying, "Why is there so many of them?" But
What about you, Nick? Were you burned out by this point, or were you still excited?
I didn't watch the Saw movies when they were new.
Okay.
But yeah, I argue that they were more thinking with the creative side of their brain. They were not thinking the business side of their brain. So yeah, but yeah, I definitely do agree. Saw 6 is a huge uh, step up of their game. It had a much, much, much better plot than Saw 4 and 5. But yeah, I feel like Saw 6 is, even though that it is well regarded in the fan base, I feel like with general audiences though, I feel like it's a little bit more underrated. I feel like it's because of the timing of it, is that it had to compete with Paranormal Activity. While yes, Saw 6 did make its money back based off of its budget, but it got utterly creamed by Paranormal Activity.
They were also making video games at the time. They had
Yep.
Saw the video game, and then they made a sequel like a year later. And like Konami wanted to be their next big horror franchise, but they quickly had to abandon it after the second game because Saw was just falling off the market that much.
Yep.
So Nick, is Saw gonna be one of your video games that you play for your channel?
No.
Yeah, and around when Saw 6 came out, this is very rare for a horror movie franchise because most movies that get rides are action movies, which makes sense because it's easy to make a ride out of an action movie. But Saw is the first horror movie to ever get a ride based off of it. And I think so far it is the only horror movie to ever have a ride based off of it. And yeah, Saw the ride. It's not here in the U.S. It's in, I believe, the UK or Australia, but I could be wrong. But yeah,
What is it? You want to get off the coaster? You cut your legs off. Get off the coaster.
but yeah, so yeah, basically it's like your generic roller coaster, but like right when you take off, there's like Jigsaw on a TV screen that says like "Let the games begin" or something. And yeah, and then at the very end, Jigsaw then says "Game over." But yeah, I think that's really unique. That Saw is the only horror movie to have ever gotten a ride based off of it. But yeah, I don't know if you two ever knew that there was a Saw.
I did not know there was a
Yeah.
ride. That is
So
crazy.
you want to go to England just to ride it?
Yeah, I definitely think that riding it would be cool. It's a shame that it's not in the U.S., but yeah, it came out right around the time that Saw 6 came out. So yeah, and the ride is running still to this very day. And I imagine that Saw the ride probably gets a lot more business when a Saw movie comes out, and especially at around Halloween.
So it's about 2010 then, 2011.
The Saw ride opened up in 2009, which was the same year that Saw 6
Oh.
came out. So yeah, and then a year later, originally the Saw 3D was going to be split into two movies, but
Yeah,
Lionsgate wanted it to be just one movie because of the box office results of Saw 6. And I think that resulted in why Saw 3D its plot is very convoluted. Like, look, the opening trap is a cool idea, how it's a public trap, but what doesn't make sense is how in the hell was Jigsaw able to get away with making a public trap? Like, don't don't you think people would find that suspicious? That, oh, here's this guy out in public making a trap to brutally murder people with?
Right. So was the 3D stuff corny or good?
It was pretty corny. Like, a lot of the blood ended up being pink. But yeah, that's my opinion on the 3D. What was your opinion on it?
Mine.
Yeah.
So again, I was pretty divided on it. So the main victim of this movie is a guy who was going around like visiting like so basically survivor groups of Jigsaw, and like he's given all these inspirational speeches and everything. The dude was a liar. Like he faked being a Jigsaw victim just for attention and fame. So Jigsaw Hoffman catches him and puts him, or actually not Hoffman. It's gonna be a bit of a twist. Um, Jigsaw catches him and forces him to do his tests for real and face the consequences that come with it. So it's here where they finally bring back Carrie Elways as Dr. Gordon, but he barely gets any screen time. And there's a reason for that. They were intending. So, Dr. Gordon is revealed to be another Jigsaw apprentice. Perhaps the real apprentice, because the Jill and Hoffman storyline reaches its conclusion, and it's a bit underwhelming. Like 6, it was actually really engaging, but 7, they kind of bring it to an anticlimax end where basically just both of them end up dead.
Yeah, and one thing that fans have complained about is that the fans predicted that whole twist with Dr. Gordon the entire time, is that Dr. Gordon like helped Jigsaw with all the other traps throughout Saw 2 through 7. Like, people were saying how they noticed that during like that moment Saw 2, when you see like the opening trap he set up, like that there's that limp, and even the actor playing that said, "Yeah, I didn't mean to do that limp on purpose." And then with that limp, fans were making theories saying that, "Oh, that right there is proof like that it's Dr. Gordon." And then the filmmakers were like, "Okay, well, I guess now it will be Dr. Gordon because the fans wanted it." So yeah, so ultimately that twist came to be because of fans.
And the thing is, it's a fine twist, but again, Dr. Gordon gets like almost no screen time, so it's like they don't even really properly show it. Yeah. And the thing is, they were going to make an 8th movie at the time that would have went into Dr. Gordon's whole backstory, but they couldn't do that.
So. Yep, and we eventually did get an 8th movie, but not the original 8th movie.
To this day, Dr. Gordon has not returned to the series. So they have that big reveal, and they just left it as is.
Now, you said earlier you thought 3D is when people thought that the series jumped the shark.
Yeah, I felt like it did with that opening public trap. Like, how in the hell was Jigsaw able to get away with that?
I mean, it's a pretty unique spectacle, but yeah, you got a point on that.
Yeah, like, how in the hell was he able to do that? Like, don't you think people now it was easier for Jigsaw to get away with it with the other movies because it was hidden away from the public. Well, yes, it is a really cool spectacle. It just didn't make any sense. And the other thing that didn't make any sense is that so Jigsaw almost killed Dr. Gordon's family, and now Dr. Gordon's helping Jigsaw. A lot of fans have pointed out that they think that's absurd, like how Jigsaw almost killed Dr. Gordon's family, and now he's helping Jigsaw. I mean, I guess the argument could be made that Jigsaw made him appreciate and value his life. I guess you could make that argument.
What do you what is your opinion?
Eric might be swaying me in his direction. Never thought about that. I forgot Dr. Gordon had a family.
Yeah, and then some people were like, don't you think that Dr. Gordon's family would be wondering where in the world that he has been? And yeah, I mean, it was cool to finally see Dr. Gordon back. But yeah, I definitely do agree he was severely underused. It's a real shame that we never got that then planned Saw 8 to get more of his backstory. I mean, do you think that we ever will get Dr. Gordon back in a future movie?
It might be possible, considering the current direction they're going with the series, it seems, but I don't know.
Okay, the question is, do either of you want him back?
I do want him back because I feel like he was kind of wasted in Saw 7.
Yeah.
So I think it would be cool to see him back. But yeah, as long as they pay him pay him the money that he feel like that he deserves. So yeah, so there was no new Saw movie for the longest time, and honestly, I thought that we weren't going to get another movie for at least 10 years. And then it was announced that Jigsaw was coming out. I was like, okay.
Yeah, Jigsaw was the series' grand return after 7 years.
Yep.
So do you think people appreciated the gap between movies since they came out so fast?
I mean, in some respects, yeah, because Jigsaw was the first movie in the series I saw in theaters. It's one of only 2 I've seen in theaters, Jigsaw and Saw 10. Because I did not see Spiral in theaters. I don't even know
Spiral.
I don't even know if Spiral made it to theaters because of COVID.
Yeah, matter of fact, I've never even seen Spiral. That's the only Saw movie I have not seen. But yeah,
I can talk about Spiral as long as you don't care about spoilers.
Oh man, I haven't seen it, so the spoilers.
If you don't want me to spoil it,
yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to have it be spoiled.
And then I'll try to talk about it with as minimal. I'll talk about it as minimally as possible.
Okay, well, I do appreciate that. But anyways, yeah, Jigsaw grand return of the series.
Yeah, so the thing with Jigsaw is that I did not think it was all that. I mean, I thought it was decent at the time I saw it, but upon rewatch, it didn't hold up as much.
I definitely do agree. I remember being entertained by it when I saw it in theaters, but then afterwards, it's a pretty forgettable movie, to be honest.
It has some good visuals. The final trap of the movie is this collar that surrounds the victim with laser beams that gradually go in. I thought the laser beam trap was cool looking. Then they do have a good mystery about who the new Jigsaw killer is. Until the payoff of the mystery kind of sucks, but that's besides the point. But then another thing that was a bit of a highlight, the Lionsgate logo at the start has this triumphant remix of the main Saw theme, basically to signify, oh yeah, Saw is back. friggin' enjoy it.
Yeah, and but yeah, like I said, I was shocked like that they brought it back when they did because I thought it would be like 10 whole years.
I'm surprised they brought it back at all.
I mean, I figured that they eventually would bring it back because Saw is now a big name franchise. But yeah,
All right, so the thing with the another problem that Jigsaw really suffers from is that it does not follow up on the loose ends from like Saw 7 at all. Like, in fact, most of the first 7 movies don't even get mentioned. Like, you get Tobin Bell back. Like, basically the big twist they try to go with is that, oh, Tobin Bell, the original Jigsaw, he's somehow back to life. When in reality, it's revealed that the traps going on in the story were just a massive flashback to like before his death. And one of the detectives or like police officers working on finding the victims, it turns out the whole time he was just mimicking the victim. He was one of the victims who survived. And he became another Jigsaw apprentice. And he recreated the other victims from his game to mislead one of the detectives just so he can get the lead detective in the laser beam trap. Yeah, this new Jigsaw apprentice's name is Logan. By the way, Logan has still not returned in any new movie, so we're probably not going to ever follow up on him again either.
So yeah, so because of that, it feels like that Jigsaw the movie was just such a big waste. Like knowing that they didn't follow up on any of the previous loose ends.
Like, and when I say they don't reference the previous movies, they don't. Like, other than having Tobin Bell back, the only other thing they do is briefly mention Jill. That's it.
And of course, they mentioned how Jigsaw died in Saw 3, but that's really it.
Yeah.
So was this? You said this movie was it this movie or the other next movie that came out during the COVID lockdown era?
No, Spiral came out during COVID. This came out in 2017. Jigsaw.
But yeah, honestly, there's not really a whole lot to say about Jigsaw. I thought it was a pretty forgettable movie. Like, I remember some of the traps, but the main characters, other than that new apprentice, there's like nothing memorable about it. Nothing.
Yeah. So now I'm going to try and talk about Spiral without spoiling it.
Well, fast behind the scenes, did the fact that it came out during this time affect its ratings? Affect it at all, or was it just?
It affected the box office, yeah, and it's a shame because Spiral was a Saw movie that got some really big names involved. Like,
so basically, it was Chris Rock who like headed Spiral. And the thing is, Chris Rock is mainly associated with comedy, and I'm just gonna say it. He had no business trying to do a horror movie. Like, he does not really sell his role all that well.
Yeah,
so,
it definitely was weird to see him in a horror movie.
Like, I'm gonna say it, of all the Saw movies I've seen, Spiral could be the worst one.
I've heard a lot of people say that. Like, people say either Spiral or Saw 7 are the worst ones.
We'll get to that in a bit.
But yeah, so the thing is, the best way I can describe how Spiral feels is that it feels fake. So the gimmick with Spiral is that it's a brand new killer, not like it's set in the Saw universe, but it's a killer completely disconnected from Jigsaw. it's the only movie in the series that does not have Tobin Bell, and let's just say you feel Tobin Bell's absence. And the whole thing with this new killer, not connected to Jigsaw in any way, he's literally just Jigsaw. Like, he has the same modus operandi, he has the same kind of traps, he even has the "I want to play a game" line. The only difference is that they use a voice synthesizer you can't take seriously. And yeah, so it has confusing plot and character contradictions. Like, let's just say they do a little bit too much to try and give you clues as to who the new killer is. Like I'm not going to say who it is,
They
but
they spelled out to you in bold letters.
The best way to describe it is that they spell it out and they throw you a curveball. Like it's an idiotic one. So, I mean, it has a couple of highlights. There is one trap I thought was good. And it does have relevant social commentary. I guess because it was made with a bit of like a theme of police brutality in mind, and its commentary is relevant. But yeah, Spiral was not good.
Yeah, that's what I've heard about it.
And this is the last movie that has appeared so far in the Saw franchise?
Nope, there was one more.
Yep, and it's the one that came out a year ago. And it's ironic because it was around the time when Saw X came out was when I met Tobin Bell.
I would imagine he was doing press tours for the movie. So I saw Saw 10 in theaters, and my reaction at the time was, so I marathoned all the Saw movies for Letterboxd before I went to go see Saw 10. And my reaction at the time was, I went from seeing what could be the worst movie in the series yesterday to watching what could be the best movie in the series today. Because Saw 10, what is easily one of the best movies in the series. And even critics agree on that. Because even with as far back as the first movie, critics have never been all that nice to the Saw movies. No, they were really nice to Saw 10.
Yeah, and that was a first for the Saw franchise because even going back to the original movie, like that, they all got rotten scores on Rotten Tomatoes. None of them ever got good reviews alike from critics. But then Saw X came around, and that was the first one in the franchise like to get good reviews and a fresh score on Rotten Tomatoes. That was huge for the Saw franchise.
Yeah.
And what I loved about Saw X, they finally made Tobin Bell the main focus. And that's what they should have done for so many movies in a row. And I guess they figured, hey, Tobin Bell is now in his 80s, so we probably should make him the main focus now. And the genius thing that they did, they said it before.
So it's between Saw 1 and 2.
Yeah. It's before Saw 2, but takes place after Saw 1.
So the thing is, they have Tobin Bell back, then they also bring back Shawnee Smith. And also the guy who played Hoffman comes back for a brief cameo. But yeah, so basically Saw 10, it follows up on that brief little story from Saw 6 where like Tobin Bell was hearing about like this experimental treatment that could maybe cure his cancer. Well, he goes to Mexico to get this treatment. Like he meets with the doctor, like other patients who've undergone the treatment. And they do it, and he actually is very grateful. Like, he actually sort of forms, like, a new outlook on life. Like, there's even this part where, like, he's sitting on a bench, like, in a park. He's drafting the Rack from Saw 3, but then he rips out the page and crumples it up. We get the implication that with his cancer gone, he feels like he doesn't need to be Jigsaw anymore. But then, when he finds out it was a scam.
Yeah, and that's where that they made Jigsaw a very sympathetic character. Is the fact
Like,
that you understand why that he's doing all of it.
like, this is like the one movie where you cheer him on when he like captures all the people involved with the scam and puts them in the traps and everything.
Yeah, and then how at the very end, this is the first time in the Saw franchise where a child is put through a Saw trap. And even Jigsaw himself is put through one of his own traps.
So we can get to that in a minute, like exactly what they do, but yeah, so really the big thing with Saw 10 is that it does a very mature dive like into Jigsaw's character. Like it shows a lot of the a lot of his sympathetic qualities while also delving into like the morality involved with him putting people in the traps in the first place. Like, and Tobin Bell like acts his ass off in it. Like when like he comes like in a change of pace in like the other movies, probably because he improvised the traps on the spot. In all the other movies, he doesn't really show his face to the victims. He usually like appears like he usually has like the Billy the Puppet appear on a TV screen, or it's just a voice recording. No, here he appears in person to the victims, and like there's this point where he like explains why he's putting them through the traps, and like he actually goes into a bit of a rant about how disgusted he is that they took so many people who were dying of terminal diseases and that they gave them the false promise and hope that they could save them. And like it's notably one of the only times where we see Jigsaw getting audibly angry. Like specifically the line is, "You promised dying people that you could save their lives," or something like that.
Yeah, and that's where Jigsaw is completely justified. Like, this is the movie like where they humanized Jigsaw, and I think that that's one of the reasons why that it ended up being so well critically received. And yeah,
Then,
and yeah.
of course, the traps themselves deliver on the usual gore. Like, I remember a friend of mine was noting he almost puked at the bone marrow one.
Yeah, you're talking about like the one where like that girl had to cut
where
off.
she had to saw her leg off and then like have like fill like this scale with like her own bone marrow before like a trap cut her head off. Yeah, the traps in the movie are pretty brutal. And then another guy is forced to do a brain surgery on himself and like put pieces of his brain on a freaking scale. And both these traps, they almost do it, but they run out of time just before they fulfill the trap's requirements. Then another one of the victims is like strung up in the air, and like her flesh is getting fried by like radiation. And then finally, you have the doctor who led the scam. She is one of the most despicable characters in the whole series. Like, so she straps Jigsaw to one of his traps, which is this blood vat thing where basically two people get strapped, and essentially one of them has to drown the other in the blood vat in order to free themselves from it. And this doctor lady takes an innocent kid and straps him to it too with Jigsaw. And like it's a sort of a back and forth between because the other wants to save the other. But then it turns out whole time Jigsaw had sort of thought of this. So the doctor and like this guy who was like posing as like this unknowing bystander, but really he was in a relationship with the doctor. They go upstairs like collect their money or something. I forget. Then they like basically Jigsaw's control room. They get trapped in there, and I think like the room gets like covered like in acid, like acid air or something like that, and like eventually the guy ends up suffocating to death, and like the doctor barely survives by sticking her head out of the control room, like through an opening. But then Jigsaw gets free from the trap. He takes the money, he gives it to the kid, and then the kid, and Shawnee Smith walk off while the doctor's just left there to die. If I had to give a criticism, that doctor deserved worse.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, at that moment, I thought that when I saw it in theaters, I was thinking, how in the world is Jigsaw going to get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
And one other criticism that I'll have, so it's set before Saw 2 and after Saw 1, but you can definitely tell that Shawnee Smith has aged.
Like
I
you
get
don't know. You don't notice it much with Tobin Bell because, well, this is around the point where Jigsaw is sort of dying from his cancer, so like his aged look is sort of fits. But yeah, Shawnee Smith looks noticeably aged compared to the older movies. They did toy with using digital de-aging, but it would have inflated the movie's budget big time, so they just decided to go with not explaining it.
Yeah, and look, I do get why that they didn't go with the de-aging, because it would have made the movie's budget a lot bigger, and they wanted to make their money back off of it. So I do get why that they did that, but it is noticeable.
All right. So that was the last movie of the series. So
It's currently the last movie, but they have confirmed an 11th one is in the works. Like it was supposed to release this year, but it's been postponed to next year.
So
yeah, and I mean, heck, I would rather have them take their time.
So how many have there been total so far?
10.
All right. It's time for everyone's favorite time ranking. So what was your number 10 movie?
I mean, our rankings are going to be different. You're going to rank mine. So are we starting from the bottom and taking turns?
Yeah.
All right. For the bottom for me is Spiral.
I'll say the same thing because I haven't seen it. So
number 9 for me is Jigsaw. I just thought it was that for all of Saw 7 and Saw 3's problems that I had with them, at least I remembered them.
Yeah.
Like, Jigsaw has its good qualities, but it's not quite enough.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide which one's worse, Jigsaw or Saw 3D. I think because of the pink blood and how they wasted Carrie Elways, I think I'll put Saw 3D.
Okay. Number 8 for me is Saw 3D.
Yeah, number 8 for me, I guess I'll put Jigsaw. Even though, yeah, it was a step up from Saw 3D, but it didn't tie up any loose ends from the previous movie. And knowing that that Logan character is now a complete waste.
Yep. Then number 7 for me is going to be Saw 3. I just thought it was a bit too depressing of a movie. Pretty much none of the characters were all that likable. Like, it does have a really good theme of, like, forgiveness, but, like, I thought the execution was just kind of sloppy. So.
Eric, what's your number 7?
Hmm. I think I'll have to go with Saw 4, even though I thought it had some cool traps, but it was overly complicated. It was kind of hard to follow. And what I've learned is that Occam's razor states that the simplest ideas are often the best ideas. So because of that, I think I'll put Saw 4.
All right.
Number 6 for me is Saw 4, just because I thought, like, tonally it was a bit more exciting to watch, but yeah, it was very convoluted.
Alrighty. Alrighty. Here, maybe I'll go with Saw 5, because, yeah, a step up from Saw 4, but a lot of the same problems with Saw 4. It felt pretty convoluted. And it's a little bit above Saw 4 because Darren Lynn Bousman exited as director when you could tell he was getting burnt out.
For me, it's Saw 5. That's number 5.
Funny, Saw 5 is at number 5.
Yeah.
That is funny.
All right.
And
What
for
is your number 5?
hmm, I think I'll go with Saw 6 because yeah, it definitely was a step in the right direction, but still not as good as the other Saw movies.
All right.
Um, I have to go with the original movie here because I don't know, like I felt some of the pacing could have been a little better, and maybe the big twist at the end just doesn't have the same oomph for me as it originally did. But it's still a master like suspense. So
Yeah, I can see that. Hmm. I think here I'll put Saw 3, even though that I definitely do love the themes to it. It had some of the most brutal traps, but I definitely do agree some of the pacing.
All right. Okay, now time for the bronze medal.
for me, it's gonna be a little tough to decide between Saw two of the movies. It like I guess at the moment, just barely. I think Saw 2 goes into 3, just because the next movie I think had like stronger themes to it.
All right. What is your bronze, Eric?
Hmm. Hard for me to say. I want to put the original movie higher because that's the one that started it all. But I guess because of Lee Whannell's acting, I think I'm gonna put the the first Saw movie here.
All right. Okay, Nick, what is your silver medal?
I actually am gonna go with Saw 6 because I don't know. I just thought the social commentary was very relevant. I thought like the traps were creative and like the stories were engaging. So
All right. Okay, what is your silver medal, Eric?
For me, it would be Saw 2 because out of all the Saw movies, that's the one that I have rewatched the absolute most.
And then for me, Saw 10 goes on top just because of its rather emotional character dive into Jigsaw's character.
I would say the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So you guys agree with
Saw
the
X definitely is the best Saw movie we have ever had.
Yeah.
so you guys agree with the top that your gold medal and your last ones are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and and that's very rare for a 10th movie in the franchise to surpass the original. How often does that happen?
I mean, Fast and the Furious kind of did it because Fast 5 ended up doing better than the first four.
Yeah, but I mean, besides that, it doesn't really happen all that very often.
Um, I know Final Destination 5 ended up doing it after over the first four. That's another one.
I've never seen Final Destination 5. I've seen Final Destination 4 or The Final Destination.
The fourth one's the worst one, and that's the only one you've seen.
Yeah, that one was pretty bad. And yeah, unfortunately, that's the only one that
I
I.
assure you, the others are better.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
So I guess that's off the table for a future review then, since you haven't seen them all yet. All right. All right. So what's coming up? What's coming up on your channels in the future?
So I guess I'll go. So I've been taking a break from Let's Watch a Movie because I think that there was an oversaturation on my channel because of it. Let's Watch a Movie really went down with views. So I'm taking a break from Let's Watch a Movie. I am planning on bringing it back, but rather than 3 times a week, I'm planning on taking a little break from Let's Watch a Movie, at least a few months. I will bring it back eventually, but instead of 3 times a week, it'll be 2 times a week. And yeah, I'm almost done with my semester at MSUB, which will give me time to finish filming the last scenes with the third movie. Then I'm going to edit it. The third movie is almost done being made. So look forward to that. I'm bringing back Horror Movie Marathon on my channel. I haven't done Horror Movie Marathon since like 2017, 2015, around there.
Mm.
So yeah, it's been absent from my channel for a while. But yeah, planning on doing that and teaming up with the 406 boys for the Craven Awards. And yeah, and I'm teaming up with the 406 boys for a short film that they're doing. And yeah, and that's really all that I got going. So, Schnick, well, what do you got going?
Not much at the moment. I mean, if the game gets another content update, me and a couple of friends are gonna survive that shitty game Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. And we may or may not do gameplay of a game called Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, so a friend of mine can make a review.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. For me, next week, I guess we're talking about the Ornithian dinosaurs, also known as the bird hip dinosaurs, which ironically have no birds in their descendant tree. Then I don't have any plans for the week after that, unless Eric wants to continue his watch along of his series.
Oh yeah, things that piss me off. That's what I forgot about. There are 2 more spin-offs coming out of things that piss Antony off. I know people were complaining how there was too many of those coming out. So that's why that I'm scheduling the next 2 of things that piss Antony off. But yeah, say if Vandalia wants to do another one, or even like say like if Schnick wants to do a spin-off. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah, so as of 2 weeks, we'll be watching that. Eric's fine. We'll be reviewing them again in 2 weeks. And then in 3 weeks, we'll be having the grand finale of my Before Earth miniseries, where finally Earth arrives to the scene. Earth is here finally for our finale. Tapioca Weasel is still here in chat. He can give a sneak preview of it, but that's what's coming up on my channel in the next 3 weeks. All right.
But yeah,
So,
I definitely feel like that we covered a lot. I mean, heck, this live stream ended up going on for almost 2 whole hours. So.
wow, it is. All right. All right. Anything you want to say before we go?
Be sure to check out my merch on Pop Tees.
Yep, and mine too. The links for both of ours in the channel description below. So check it out. All right, and as always, never stop learning and enjoy the randomness. We'll see you all next week. Well, I will at least. Bye.
And game over.